If you were to compare this year's Lakers roster to last year's team, you'd find very little difference. They lost Spencer Dinwiddie, they drafted Dalton Knecht, they signed Christian Koloko, very minimal changes on the margins. Their big move of the offseason wasn't about a player acquisition, it was about replacing Darvin Ham with a controversial first-time head coach in JJ Redick. And after just a few preseason games, I think it's pretty clear that these are not the same Lakers. Of course, preseason basketball always needs to be watched with some sort of asterisk. Stars are playing 15 to 20 minutes a game, defensive intensity is at about 40% on a good day, rotations are going 15 players deep, but I still think there's a lot we can draw from these matchups in terms of process. When I say that, I mean I'm looking at how teams are creating offense. How is each player on the floor being utilized? What type of sets and actions are being run to maximize talent? And that is exactly what has felt different to me about the Lakers. Let's count the number of actions on this possession. It starts with a cross screen near the elbow to create a post-up. Then they're going to set a second cross screen for Bronny to cut, while Knecht immediately moves into a handoff where he finds some space to rise up for three. Or how about this one? It starts with a little flip from Reeves to Rui, who swings it to Knecht for an empty side pick and roll. Only that's a decoy as it gets moved back to Reeves for a spread pick and roll with LeBron, and there's nothing you can do once he gets that downhill momentum. What I'm trying to get at by showing you these plays is that instead of a stationary offense that runs one, maybe two actions on any given possession, the Lakers have emphasized player movement and involvement, creating a much more layered offensive approach. And through a few preseason games, it's already become pretty evident what they plan to go to as their primary actions in the half court. They've taken a page out of OKC's book with the use of ghost screens, and if the defense covers the first shooter, he can make a quick extra pass to the other sniper that's spotted up on the wing. Another thing you'll see them do is have a guard or a wing dribble towards the corner for a handoff with a second wing clearing the middle of the floor for that guy to attack the elbow. It's a very quick and easy way to get the defense in rotation. Bull has some trouble sticking with the ball, forcing this defender to sink to the nail, and with just one simple action, you've created a great look from outside. Speaking of simple actions, it appears that a staple in their attack will be these immediate guard-to-guard handoffs out in space. And the goal is to not only get the offense moving, but to force those point-of-attack defenders to make decisions. Take this play for example. As soon as Reeves crosses half court, he's looking to hand the ball off to Rui, and these two defenders miscommunicate, with one switching and the other staying attached. That confusion forces them into a scramble, and a game of hot potato results in a wide open triple. These actions are even more dangerous when a guy like LeBron initiates. The defense is so worried about him driving that when he instead hands it off to Vincent, it's essentially a practice jumper. These quick handoffs out on the perimeter are also a go-to action for the Sixers. But instead of a guard on the receiving end, it's usually the absolute wrecking ball that is Joel Embiid. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Lakers do a similar thing for Anthony Davis, as he happens to be a pretty big downhill threat himself. One reason I feel they may end up using AD as a ball handler a bit more is that they've already made it very clear how much they plan to use their smaller players as screeners. On this one, they go to Spain pick and roll, with D'Lo setting a back screen for Davis, and when the weak side defender drops to tag, LeBron of course fires a beautiful skip pass to Reeves for a corner three. This time it's going to be Max Christie, who sets a cross screen in the middle of the floor for Jackson Hayes. Hayes is going to use that screen to set a ball screen of his own, and that's a little wrinkle to get into an empty corner pick and roll as D'Lo works his way inside for two. They've been going to these actions a lot. The initial cross screen makes things a lot more difficult for the big to step up near the level of the ball screen, which creates a lane for D'Lo to get downhill, while the way they space the rest of the floor pretty much eliminates any help. Take this play. D'Lo's gonna be the one setting a cross screen as Davis goes to set a ball screen. And because D'Lo's such a big shooting threat, when he pops back out to the three-point line, Grayson Allen follows closely, meaning that he's no longer in position to help at the nail. Here's another example. Again, the corner is empty, so immediate help has to either commit from the opposite side of the floor or from the middle. Reeves sets that cross screen and pops, while Allen stays attached. D'Lo uses the ball screen, nobody's there to help at the nail, and he gets all the way to the rim. These cross screens aren't only used to space the floor for a ball screen though. This time Davis is going to stop short and try his hand at a three, although this one doesn't exactly drop. And I actually want to take a moment to talk about AD as a shooter because JJ Redick has been very vocal in how he wants him to be taking a healthy volume of threes. Of course, we won't know the results until we get a decent sample size, but I can't lie, I'm not sure that's the right strategy. Over his entire career, he's only attempted over 3 threes a game in a single season once, and he shot a measly 33%. It's not the worst mark ever, but it's far from good. He's had 3 other seasons attempting over 2 threes a game, and in those years he shot 34, 33, and 26%. That 34% from 3 is a career high, and in the last 3 years he's barely taken them, but when he has, the result has not been good. Just a putrid 24% in over 250 attempts. By all measures, AD is one of the least efficient three-point shooters in the NBA. Maybe with a bit more rhythm and emphasis, he can get back over 30%, but I still don't think that's enough to justify him taking 3, 4, even 5 a game. So while I see the vision and what JJ Redick's trying to do, I personally don't feel so confident in that panning out. What I do feel confident in, however, is the way they've been using AD as a playmaking hub in the middle of the floor. I've always felt that he's a very underrated passer from a standstill, and putting him on the perimeter like this is a great way to make the paint vulnerable, unlocking more player movement. Notice how even though he isn't a big shooting threat, his defender makes sure to put pressure on the ball. That creates a wide open rim, and with a simple back screen, there's a small window for him to thread the needle. Not only does putting the ball in his hands free up the lane for more cutting and screening, it also clears the middle of the floor for them to set up the two-man game. And as we all know, that's where he's at his best. This style of offense isn't exclusive to Davis though. This time it's Jackson Hayes operating up top, and the same concept applies with an open paint leading to easy offense at the rim. And much like Davis, he can set up dribble handoffs with whoever's in the corner. The key to all of this is getting creative with how they position their players. A lot of these plays start with 2 front court players on the elbows and a guard up top. In this case, D'Lo's gonna enter the ball to Hayes before cutting off a flare screen from Rui, and the result is a wide open catch and shoot jumper. On this one, you're gonna see the exact same action, except Christie doesn't get open off the flare, so Rui holds the ball to hand it off to Hood Schifino, who finds some space to pull up for a midi. There are so many different sets they can get into once the ball is entered to the pinch post. This time, instead of a flare, D'Lo's gonna cut off a back screen, which LeBron of course takes full advantage of. However, it isn't just set plays where spacing and player positioning is a big focus. Even in their basic half-court offense, it's clear how important this is. Like I said, they've been running a lot of empty corner pick and rolls. One pass away on the wing is a secondary ball handler and shooting threat. In the corner, they have another guard, and the idea is to turn that low man into a non-rim protector. So when D'Lo comes off a screen and draws help at the nail, he can kick it to Reeves for a driving lane. Because Bradley Beal's the low man, Reeves has no trouble scoring inside. Both Boston and OKC had top 3 offenses last season, and both emphasized the importance of putting a guard in the dunker spot to turn that second line of defense into a small. It becomes a lot easier to score when you don't have to worry about a shot blocker. With guards operating down low, they've also gotten creative with the use of their non-shooting bigs, often spotting them up in the corner. and it may sound counterintuitive, but the idea is to occupy the opposing team's 5 by putting them in action. Just look at how the floor is set up on this play. Castleton's in the opposite corner, while Connect is spotted up on the wing, and it looks like the primary action is this ball screen. Actually, that's a decoy. They want this defender to start cheating over so that they can skip the ball weak side for an immediate handoff. Connect's unable to hit this one, but the roots are there. I absolutely love the way they've used off-ball movement to create more space. It might sound obvious, but words can't overstate how important it is to have moving parts on offense. Occupying help, forcing defenders to make split-second decisions, and they didn't have a lot of that under Darvin Ham. Remember when I said they have their guards setting lots of cross screens? Well, this time the big is going to be the one setting it, with the idea of pulling this defender away from the middle. Simultaneously, Rui's going to cut baseline to take this defender away from the paint, and from there the stage is set to run pick and roll. D'Lo does what he does best, and Hayes gets above the rim. This time it's pretty much a full lineup of end of rotation players, but I'm more focused on the process. Again, it starts with a cross screen to pull help away from the middle, and while they set up the high pick and roll, you're also going to see Connect run to the top of the key to occupy another potential helper. With nobody to tag the roll, the result is a lob. All things considered, it wouldn't shock me at all if the Lakers have one of the better offenses in the NBA this season. From a talent standpoint, they have multiple guys who can handle, shoot, and pass. By emphasizing movement and spacing, I think each of those guys will have an easier time creating. Another thing I didn't really talk about was their use of pace. I'll wait to see how it translates to the regular season, but they've been playing really fast in the preseason. My only concern is the way Redick's been talking about three-point volume, not just from Davis, but from the entire team. He's been talking about attempting 40 to 50 threes a game, and if that means they're forcing them up, I'm not on board. If they're coming within the flow of the offense, and the defense is actively giving them up, that's different, and I see the vision. The way they're using bigs to initiate offense, the way they have their guards screening and cutting all over the floor, the multiple actions and emphasis on spacing, whether they win more or less games than last year, it's clear to me that these are not the same Lakers. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think of the Lakers. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.